Hello, I'm Lovey Brown, and this is 5-Minute Manifesting. Today, I want us to talk about revision, the art of revision. Revision is a concept that Neville Goddard spoke about in a lecture called The Pruning Shears of Revision. In this lecture, he explains that you can change your present and future by going back into your past and changing it in your imagination. Revision is special to me because reading The Pruning Shears of Revision a decade or so ago was the very first time I was introduced to the work of Neville Goddard, apart from his quotes in The Secret, which is maybe where I learned his name. And since then, I've gone on to read all of Neville Goddard's works and listen to as many lectures as I can get my hands on YouTube or in other recordings on the internet. And he is probably the manifesting teacher I look to the most for my style and for my coaching. Revising is simple to do, but keep in mind, you need to let go of the emotions of your past, of the past event, to really get into a good natural state with the scene that you're revising. What you want to do first is you want to recall the moment or the event or the conversation that you want to revise, that you want to change. And then you want to create it again in your imagination. This time, you want it to be exactly the way you wanted it to go the first time. So you want to change that. You want to create a scene in your imagination that's the way you would have wanted it to go in the past. So for example, say you got a letter in the mail and it said that it would take up to 8 weeks to answer an inquiry about a refund that you were requesting from a company. You could change that letter in your imagination to say exactly the answer you were wanting. So, for example, you could say, ma'am or sir, the refund you requested has been granted in this amount. We're very sorry for the inconvenience. So I have an example of a time that I used revision and it worked very quickly. So this was I live in the United States, and in the United States, the day after Thanksgiving, which is a U.S. holiday, is a big shopping day. So all the shops and restaurants are very, very busy on that Friday after Thanksgiving. And I really wanted to go buy something to use a discount that I had. And I asked my mom to go with me. And this was at a town about an hour away from where we lived, where we were that day. And so we drove to the town. We got the thing that I wanted. And it was dinner time. It was at night. We were ready to eat. And so my mom suggested that we eat at a restaurant. Now, all of the restaurants are super crowded. It was pretty late. My mom had worked that day at her job. And so we didn't want to have to wait a long time. We did want to get something, but we did want to eat something kind of nicer. We had gone on this excursion out of town, so we wanted to eat at a restaurant, like a fancy hamburger restaurant. I know that's kind of an oxymoron, isn't it? A fancy hamburger restaurant, but that's what it was. And it was very crowded. It was very crowded. There were all kinds of people waiting to get in and to get a table. And so I went up to the host stand and I put her name on the list. I gave him our name, Lovey Brown. And he gave me the little pager to let us know when our table would be ready. And the host told me that it would be about 45 minutes before we could get a table. So I said, okay. But in my mind, I immediately said, this is from a Neville Goddard story from one of the people that wrote into one of his books called The Power of Awareness. And immediately in my mind, I said, that's not what I heard you say. Our table will be ready in 5 minutes. So I take the pager, I go to my mom, what he said, I tell her the truth, the truth of what he said, but I didn't tell her the revised truth. I just told her what he said, 45 minutes, that we're going to wait. We go and we have a seat. And immediately after we had a seat, the pager buzzed. And we went back and we were seated at our table and we got in right away at that restaurant. So that's just a fun little story, and it's a simple way to revise. It's something that I suggest you do as you practice with something really small like that. It didn't matter. If we would have had to wait the 45 minutes, we would have been okay. We could have chosen to leave the restaurant, but I revised it really quickly. I let it go, and we were able to be seated at that restaurant within 5 minutes of getting there and not having to wait the 45 minutes that we were told that it was going to be. Thank you so much for your time today. I hope you have a great week, and I will talk to you soon. Thank you. Bye.